Hello and welcome to Inside Out on TV. I'm your host, Holden Cutts. We've got a great show for you here. Today we will be revealing footage from the Great American Eclipse and discussing issues surrounding homelessness with several local nonprofits. But first, our reporter Jason Kalner takes us on a trip to Olympia's Gallery Boom, a space where local artists can create, display, and sell their work.
Hi, welcome. I'm Christine Malik, the owner of Gallery Boom. This is my gallery. We are a 5,000 square foot building with over 150 different artists. You want to come and see what's inside?
Be great.
Yeah, come on. So here at Gallery Boom, we really pride ourselves on being accessible to all sorts of different kinds of people. So we make sure that our ramps are always clear and that people can come in with all different ability levels, with your kids, with big bags, and it'd be accessible for everybody. This is our psychic rent-a-tent where people can come in and utilize our space for palm readings and tarot cards and all sorts of different stuff. One of our biggest event spaces that happens to be empty right now is, we call this the Little Boom Room. So we recently had the Oli Zine Fest have an event in here last week, and we're just waiting for the next one to come in. And then we also have our stage area in which we've thrown comedy shows, we've done music, we've done readings, and all sorts of stuff in this space. And then it's just more art gallery.
Hi. So you're one of the artists who displays your work here at Gallery Boom. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, this is, of course, a Cheshire cat from Alice in Wonderland. It's done with paper mache.
Oh.
So each piece has a different structure underneath, armature. This was coat hangers, paper bags, wads, and then I build it up in whatever seems to work for each individual sculpture.
So we've got more of your work here. Tell us a little about it.
I call these aliens, and they were put in a science fiction show.
And are these also paper mache, or?
They're also paper mache, and they're an example of some of the interesting coatings, and covering, surface texture. A lot of people that do paper mache really try to get it to be very smooth and kind of look like porcelain. And I've never really been attracted to that. I really like the natural feel of the clumpy paper that gives interesting texture. And so it really kind of made this sort of crusty outer coating, which I like.
So you're another artist here at Gallery Boom. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your art?
Hi. Yes, I actually do very crazy colors and abstract type work. It's actually considered non-objective because it doesn't even represent anything that's occurring in nature. And I just work on several pieces at once, and I add a little color each day. Typically, I'll have one color going that day, and I'll kind of toss it onto several canvases at once. So you'll see similar colors in my work passing through, and that's because I'm working with one color each day and passing it through.
What would you say to younger artists trying to, start up?
I would say don't be afraid to make mistakes. Get yourself some inexpensive sketchbooks. I work constantly in sketchbooks, so while I'm working on pieces, I keep sketchbooks. And I try out ideas in there. I don't care if they don't work. I don't worry about if they look ugly or anything like that, but I learn something every time I create something, and that's a great way to go. Just don't be afraid and keep trying.
We've got one more artist from Gallery Boom. Would you tell us a little bit about what you do here?
Sure. I display my things. I specialize in recycled, upcycled materials, making them into largely lamps or ornamental things from thrift stores, garage sales, sometimes the side of the roads like hubcaps, things like that. People's old fans, whatever I can find has to be usually shiny for me to like it.
Do you ever, take apart things, or do you always try and use already broken things?
A little bit of both. I guess it's my slogan is you gotta take something to break something to make something.
Thank you so much for the tour of this wonderful gallery.
Yeah.
I wish you the best of success.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, and thanks for taking the time to see Gallery Boom.
Thank you. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Jason. Gallery Boom looks really awesome. In Thurston County alone, over 600 people do not have a roof over their head or a secure place to sleep. However, there are many agencies here in Olympia that are working toward the goal of ending homelessness. In our next story, Inside Out on TV reporters Isabella Widrow and I take a look at some of those agencies and find out what our community is doing to help end homelessness in Thurston County.
Hi, I'm Isabella Widrow, and I'm here with Gavin Tan, the program coordinator for Rosie's Place, and Keely Marino, who's the director of services for high-risk youth. And we're at Rosie's Place, which is a program that serves young people 12 to 24 who are currently experiencing homelessness or at risk for experiencing homelessness.
2005, we opened Rosie's Place, and the previous executive director used to say that it was like putting a discotheque inside a library. So all of the other programs were pretty like appointment-based and really quiet, lots of offices, but Rosie's Place is a milieu, which means all the young people are just hanging out, and it's pretty loud and a little crazy. And so in 2013, we moved into this building to have our own standalone space where the youth could feel comfortable coming and going as they will, and we could just really focus on the young people in this space. So that's kind of the history of it.
So what is the goal of Rosie's Place?
I'll pass it to you.
The goal of Rosie's Place is to provide services for young adults who are experiencing homelessness, to be able to give them a space where they can get their basic needs met, hygiene, clothing, to be able to spend time with folks that are, hopefully a positive influence in their life, or are able to model behavior that feels safe and that feels welcoming and just gives a young person an opportunity to be somewhere that feels safe. In the drop-in center, there's a lot of things that happen. Case management happens, so we have the ability to work one-on-one with young adults. We believe that young people are experts in their own lives, and so our role is to support the things that are important to them. They are the driving force of the work that happens here, and so what's important to them becomes what's important to us, and we just help support them to be able to achieve the things that are important to them. The philosophy kind of around the drop-in center work here is that if you, and kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you get your basic needs met, then you're able to focus on things outside of basic needs. So once you're out of survival mode, or if you can take a break even and pause in survival mode, then you're able to look outside of that. You're able to think about what your dreams could be, what your goals could be, things that you want for yourself in your life. And so we're hoping that this space can help do that.
As an advocate for those who are facing homelessness, what would you say to those who are afraid of interacting with the homeless, and what can be done to alleviate those fears?
I think that is a really important question. And I think it's one that the city grapples with and that the business owners downtown grapple with. And one of the things that I realized is I thought I was beyond reproach. I thought that I didn't have biases and I was really, loved everyone equally. And so I started actually in Rosie's Place as a therapist. And so I would come in and do art therapy with the youth. And I realized that when I came in, I totally had biases. I noticed that I would maybe walk on the other side of the street when I saw someone coming down the street that looked like they may be homeless. I avoided them, or I might look behind my shoulder for some reason because I was conditioned to think that it was unsafe. But once I stepped into this space and started working as a therapist and got to know each of these young people, and saw the ways in which we were all human, like we have shared humanity. And these are whole, complete human beings with things that they love and people that they love and dreams and hopes and histories and hurts, just like you and me. It really broke it down, and it took all the fear away. So often our young people downtown are stigmatized as dirty, drug abusing, layabouts, lazy. They choose this life. This is what they want. Otherwise, they could just pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get a job, but they don't want to. So there's a lot of that message that gets out. There have been a lot of news articles locally that use that language to describe the downtown community, and they hear it and they feel it, and that impacts them. And so if my expectation is that they're lazy, drug abusing, scary folks, that's what I'm going to see. And that's what I'm going to create. But if I look at them as human beings that are experts in their own experience that could achieve anything that they want, that's totally going to impact how I respond to them and how they respond to me. It's like the Pygmalion effect, that we create what we believe. So that's kind of a more philosophical answer, but I think a lot of it is to understand they're not interested in harming anybody. They are surviving. They have a completely different culture than ours that has its own set of rules and beliefs and justice and family systems. And if there's anyone that they have beef with, it's within their own family. It's not people on or walking through like the Artesian Commons to get water. It's not that business owner. It's not that police officer. It's not you. They're not even really conscious of that. They are very much immersed in their own community and their culture, and yet they're also wonderful people. We have great affection for all of the young people who we work with, and it's constantly a struggle to negotiate how stigma is impacting them.
What can people do to help, and what is needed?
Oh, yeah.
You want to take this? Okay, go for it.
So ready for this one. Help the people who are already doing the work. And there's a few ways that you can do that. One is you can volunteer your time. There are organizations in this community that primarily run off of volunteers. And so volunteer your time, absolutely a great way. You can donate your money. And that is another way that you can contribute. You can give an organization the opportunity to have funds that they can use when they need it for what they need it. Grants and some funding is so restricted that it can only be used for specific things. So when you do donate to an organization, it gives them the opportunity to use those funds in ways that they can't otherwise. You can also get a hold of local organizations, find out exactly what they need, and donate what they need. So we go through probably anywhere from 10 to 20 pairs of socks a day, and we don't have any at the moment, but we have a couple cases of croutons. And so while it's lovely to donate, make sure that you're connecting with an organization and finding out what they need. And then another way that you can really help is change the conversation around homelessness. Really challenge people's beliefs on how they see folks who are experiencing homelessness, how they're seeing our young people on the streets, and ask questions to help them deconstruct the beliefs that they might have and start changing that conversation. And then also voting for people at the local, the state level, the federal level, who believe that every human being deserves to access, basic services, what is it called? Not basic services, but
You got this.
I don't have it. Water, food, shelter, medical, all of those things are basic human rights. And so vote for those folks who support that and believe that as well.
I think that the more people become educated in what homelessness is about, but then also to not look at this issue from a charitable standpoint, but from a human standpoint. So it's not about feeling sorry or sad for young people or any people that are living on the street, but finding ways to humanize the situation and to remember, like, even in Washington State, we have the most regressive tax system, and oftentimes I hear that homeless folks don't pay taxes, and so, but they do. They pay a much higher rate of tax than we do because their income is so low. And so when they're paying sales tax, they are definitely taxpayers in our community, and they are our community members, and we have a responsibility to show up for them like we would any other community member. And so I think that is a message that I'd want to get out there. I think that's about it.
They're our neighbors.
Yeah, they're our neighbors.
I'm here with Bobby Williams, founder of the Bridge Music Project. Starting as a branch of Community Youth Services, the Bridge has recently become its own nonprofit. Bobby, thank you for joining us. Would you like to tell us about how the Bridge got started?
Well, thank you for having me. As you mentioned, the Bridge originally started as part of Community Youth Services. I work at CYS as a foster care case manager. And so the origins of the program started with me working with youth in foster care and on a real informal level teaching them songwriting. So I would teach them how to write their raps, how to make beats, how to record. And that's something that's always been something I've been passionate about since I was a young person. And what I found was that a lot of the youth I was working with started using songwriting as a tool to process the trauma that they had been through. And so I took this idea to Scott Hanauer, who's now the CEO of CYS, And we developed it into something where we can do writing groups for the whole community, not just youth and foster care. And so a big part of what we're doing is trying to give people an outlet to process their trauma and better understand themselves. We're doing it in a non-traditional means, like this isn't sit-down therapy where you're talking to a therapist. This is something where you're taking the thoughts, taking what's going on with you, and you're putting it on the page. And it's something that's fun and accessible to people.
Before we wrap up this segment, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, just thank you for having me. If you want to follow what we're doing with the Bridge, you can find us online at bridgemusicproject.org. Also, if you search on Facebook, just look for the Bridge Music Project and you'll be able to find us.
So that concludes our segment. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here. And now back to you, Holden.
I'm here with my guest, Marisa Fisher, and she's going to tell us a little bit about Sidewalk.
Hi, Sidewalk is a local nonprofit working to end homelessness here in Thurston County, and we combine volunteerism and intensive community engagement with data-driven, evidence-based methods to accomplish our mission. We really try to make sure that the house, and we really appreciate the fact that it's not an office building or a clinical setting, it's actually a house, so it feels a little bit more homey. People can come in and get coffee and get snacks. We have volunteers who will help them get started with paperwork and make sure that they have something to eat or drink if they want it. The living room is where we do paperwork, and it's just a room with a bunch of couches and chairs and things.
What are some of the barriers of getting out of homelessness that Sidewalk is addressing?
There are a couple of really big barriers that cause homelessness or cause people to have a hard time getting out of homelessness. One of them is the lack of affordable housing. There's not a lot of places to live that are affordable. Rent is really high. There's actually only 3% vacancy here in Washington State, which means there's no place to live, even the expensive places. And one of the other things is that people who are really vulnerable, who have substance use or who are experiencing mental illness or have medical conditions, need a little bit more supportive housing, and that's not something that we have very much of here in this community.
Could you tell us about the new community care center downtown?
I can. The Community Care Center is going to be a big cooperative effort between about 10 to 12 different community partners. It's being sponsored by Providence, and there's going to be mental health workers, behavioral health case management, medical services, and hygiene services as well. There's going to be places for people to take showers and do their laundry. Sidewalk's role there is going to be providing the volunteers to do intake to get people access to housing services. We're one of the coordinated entry points here, and two of our other partners, Community Youth Services and Family Support Center, serve other demographics of people experiencing homelessness. So there's also veteran services there. It's going to be right across from the Intercity Transit Center downtown, which means that it's really close and it's very easy or a lot easier for folks to get to than having to go to all of these different places individually in order to access all the different services.
Thank you for all your time, Marisa. Back to the studio. These hard-working organizations are always looking for new volunteers, much-needed supplies and donations. If you would like to donate, make a donation, or find out how you can be a volunteer, visit their websites. On August 21st, many residents of Thurston County and the nation witnessed the solar eclipse. Now we can turn to our exclusive footage of the eclipse as seen from just outside our studio in Olympia, Washington.
Hi, my name is Jason Kalner, and I'm here to give you coverage of the 2017 total solar eclipse.
Greetings, my friends. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives.
It is 9:57 on August 21st, and the temperature has really dramatically dropped. I've got here 3 ways to view the eclipse safely. These are solar glasses. They're metal impregnated paper. It allows you to see the sun without any danger to your eyes. This is a camera obscura. It allows you to see the solar eclipse through a tiny little pinhole. It's ancient technology and also a safe and cheap way to view the eclipse. And this is a modified telescope that we're using as a projector. As you can see, the solar eclipse is projected right here. It's almost at about 50% totality. It reaches 94 where we are in Washington. And yeah, that's the moon covering the sun. Behind me, you can see there's crescent-shaped shadows on this pillar back here. That also has to do with the eclipse. The light is filtering through leaves, which is functioning in the same way as the camera obscura did. Each one of these little crescents is actually a reflection of the eclipse. You can see them all over the place, actually. Anywhere that you can find a small pinhole of light. We're at totality right now, as close as it's going to get. 94%, I think it is here. Just like the camera obscura that we had, you can see the eclipse through a pinhole there, but the leaves on the trees here also create the same effect. You can notice the crescent shapes on the ground around me and on the car behind me, and every single pinhole in between the leaves creates one of those crescents, and so in the shadows you get effects like this.
Even at 94% coverage, the eclipse really was amazing. The weird shadows definitely stood out to me. We'd like to thank you for joining us, as well as our reporters in the organization featured today for their generosity and time. Community Youth Services, Rosie's Place, the Bridge Music Project, Sidewalk, and Gallery Boom. To find out more information about these local nonprofits and Gallery Boom, you can visit their websites. I'm Holden Cutts, also known as Holden the Mic, and this has been Inside Out on TV.